Their Rising Ritual with Ray. Happy Monday. The whole purpose of this segment is to give you a little juice, give you a little energy, give you a little focus and momentum to start off your day. It is so often that when we first wake up, the first thing we do is check our phone, and that is a total Russian roulette. If you allow the outside world to be the first influence of your day, it could be good news, it could be bad news. Literally anything can happen. So, this is an opportunity for you to take the reins and take control of the energetic flow of your day. So, what I would like to talk about today is identity. Who are you? you know and I also want to go a little deeper into not just who are you, but how your identity shapes your actions, which drive your results. Okay, so let's dive right on into it. So for me, a lot of you might not know me as Ray. A lot of you might know me as Ray. But for over a year now, I have shifted and changed my identity. Why did I do that? And what do you mean you changed your identity? Aren't you who you are? Yeah, but oftentimes we associate things that don't necessarily have a good impact on the way that you view yourself. And so for my entire life, I was always a product and a slave of seeking the approval of someone who wasn't giving it to me. I had a lot of childhood traumas that I carried through adulthood, and those traumas just literally sat on my shoulders like a backpack. And I had carried it with me like a badge of honor. I was the product of the expectations other people set of me. I didn't have my own identity. In high school, I would be like the class clown, or like I would pretend like I was stupid in order for people to laugh and joke and, oh, she's so funny, right? But I would dumb myself down in order to meet that expectation of other people. And the truth is, I've never been dumb. I've always been top of my class. I've always, school came really easy to me. It wasn't really a challenge at all, except for when I came to like geometry and like certain subjects. But it's for the overall most part, like school came easy to me. It wasn't a challenge for me at all. But I was missing that social aspect. I grew up very sheltered. My mother did not let me like hang out with people or go to sleepovers or, go to my friend's house or talk to my friends on the phone. Like I wasn't allowed to do all that stuff. So she had me at home doing homework and reading books and cleaning the house and, very, very sheltered life. And so as I grew up, I craved that sense of social. I craved that sense of like being liked, being popular, right? So I joined the cheerleading team in junior high. I was like fifth and sixth grade. I was in the cheerleading team because I thought that would make me popular. And long story short, a lot of the things that I did were for the approval of others, to fit in, to for people to like me. I would get a boyfriend so I could go around and tell people that I had a boyfriend. Did we even do anything? No, it was just for bragging rights, right? So, and I found out as I got older and as I began to continue my healing journey, I went to therapy. I did a lot of things to really like heal myself of that past trauma, because I figured, I was like, I'm doing all this stuff and people always would like meet me or like run into me and be like, oh my God, you have so much potential. You have so much potential in life. Like you're going places or you're going to change things in life. And I was just like, oh, thank you. And I was super flattered, but I didn't see it. I didn't recognize the magnificence that I had, because my story in my head was that I have to seek the approval. See, when I was younger, I felt very rejected and abandoned by my father. My first memory in life is a domestic situation between him and my mother. It was brutal, it was ugly, it was traumatizing. I was only 2 years old. It was a hot mess. And so, long story short, when my father left, I sought that approval, that affection, that um, acceptance from other people. And unfortunately, as I got older, I started to seek that acceptance in the wrong ways. So, first, I would seek that validation through like getting good grades in school and having those bragging rights and allowing people to be like, oh my gosh, she's so smart. And then it shifted from getting good grades in school to like being more on the social scene and allowing people in my social setting to be like, oh my God, we love her, blah, 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 blah. So, I wasn't born to the name Ray or Ràella. I was born to the name Tynika. And everyone my entire life has always called me Tiny. My teachers, my friends, my family, everyone has always called me Tiny. And so I was living up to the expectation of what everyone thought tiny should be, and I was introduced to a lot of very adult situations at a very young age. So I felt like I was a little bit robbed of a childhood. Like my mom used to play with us a lot and like take me and my cousins out. And that's like really most of the childhood that I remember. But there are big chunks missing. And it's because of the trauma, it's because of the repressed memories. There was a lot of things that I had to deal with that children shouldn't have to deal with. So I ended up dating guys that were mirror or image reflections of my father. And not in a good way, they say that, women, they like will either marry their father or the opposite, right? I wanted to attract the opposite, but because I hadn't gotten the validation or approval from my father in this lifetime, I was seeking that from other people, and the person who was supposed to protect me was the person who caused me pain and suffering and challenge and adversity and discontentment, And so that was a very tough pill for me to swallow, which ended up leading me to being a wild thing in college. I ended up in a relationship with somebody who was like this thug or whatever from the west side of Chicago. No shade, but he had a lot going on. He was on papers and I didn't know about it. And it was a lot going on. So, and that relationship ended up being a relationship of like emotional abuse, mental abuse. And he was kind of like living off me and like we would get into it and it became physical and it just wasn't right. And moving forward, like that wasn't the only one. There was another one when I was living in Vegas. This guy put his hands on me and attacked me with an extension cord. So like these things all stem from your original and initial identity. Part of me believed that I didn't deserve someone who would treat me well because I never received that from my father. And because I was still seeking his validation, because I was still seeking his approval, I would find other people that mirrored that. And I would seek the approval of them, even though they weren't necessarily deserving of me. But I didn't know that. I didn't believe that because I didn't have the self-worth, the self-value, the self-acceptance to know what it was that I deserved. So I would put myself in these situations and in these positions unknowingly because I wasn't yet at a conscious level to accept my identity for who I wanted to be and not being the product of the expectations of other people. And I feel like there's a lot of people who operate in that space. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people who are being the expectation of the type of wife they're supposed to be, or the expectation of the type of mother they're supposed to be, or the type of employee you're supposed to be, or, all of these things. And it's like we put these labels on ourselves, and those labels limit your action. If I think to myself that I'm not, and even if it's like a deeply rooted unconscious thought, You might not be consciously saying to yourself, I'm not worth it, I'm not worth it, I'm not worth it. But that's how you really feel. And you know that because if you look at your reality, the things that and the situations that you attract will tell you exactly how you feel about yourself, will tell you exactly what you think about yourself. And I think it's so important to bring awareness to what is that unconscious identity. If you feel resistance in any way, let's say, for example, you're a business owner and you feel resistance in when it comes to making money. You have clients that like will come through, but they'll only pay you partially, or like you'll have money coming in, but it's on hold for a week, or you just feel a lot of resistance. You'll do a lot of sales calls, but you really don't get a lot of closes. Like you're feeling resistance when it comes to your business or a relationship or whatever your thing is, right? When you're feeling that resistance, you try. Um, Cat Williams, trying shit don't work. You know what I mean? When you're trying all these things and they're not working and you're feeling that tension and that resistance, that is an energetic signal that something is not in alignment. And that's the perfect moment to like go inside, to really analyze and bring self-awareness. So like I told you, my whole life everyone called me tiny, right? And so here I am, it's like 2021, New Year's is actually like New Year's Eve, New Year's night or whatever, right? Everybody's out partying and I'm sitting here with Sahat and we just had a conversation and I'm just like, my identity doesn't resonate with me. My whole life, I had all of these issues and struggles with my father. And I knew even going through it, like in high school, like this is going to be my story. All of this torment that I had to go through, I'm going to overcome it and I'm going to become somebody. I'm going to be somebody. But it was never in the moment. It was always in the future. In the future, I'm going to be, right? But I didn't do what it took right now to overcome the emotional pain of rejection from somebody who I thought was supposed to be there for me at all times, right? So just having to swallow those pills. I remember 2017, it was like the most challenging year I had to overcome because I lost everything. I was a victim of fraud, lost like money in my bank account. I lost my vehicle. Some kid crashed in my car, completely totaled my car. I had like money saved up because I started my first LLC, ended up not being able to do anything in that LLC because of the car accident. And I needed like a doctor to come to my house every day and started like getting eviction notices. Like it was a huge domino effect. And I put myself in this situation, but yet I leaned and looked for my father to bail me out. And I was mad when he didn't. I was so angry. But the truth of it is that like at the end of the day, I'm living halfway across the country, even though, I felt like he could have helped me out in that situation. It's still my responsibility. And so I had to shift my perspective. Like nobody's coming to save you. You got to become your own hero, girl. Like, what are you doing? You over here mad. And then like a month or 2 months later, something like that, I think it was like a month later, I found out my older sister's mom's friend saw on Facebook, right, that my dad had cancer. And I was just like, and in that moment, I grieved the loss of my father. May he, may his soul rest beautifully. But I grieved for my father in that moment, not because he had cancer, but because he didn't even have the respect enough to call me. I wasted 25 years of my life trying to seek the approval of this man, trying to seek the validation of this man who was never going to give it to me. It doesn't matter what their title is. It doesn't matter who they are to you. If you're not pouring into yourself and you're seeking that validation outwardly, it never is going to end well. And it didn't. Fast forward a couple years, the pandemic hit or whatever. And I ended up moving from Vegas back to Chicago because my dad was in and out the hospital. My grandparents were up there in age. They were all living together, Long story short, my grandmother transitioned in October. I moved back in November. And then we all caught COVID. All of us got sick. And then right after that, my father transitioned at the end of December, and then my grandfather transitioned like 8 days later, like the first week of January. So it was a lot to deal with. But a year goes by, I cleaned up their lives, I cleaned up their house. I was the one to help like put the house on the market and all this stuff. And I'm still sitting here with the identity of Tiny. My name, Tynika, was a combination of my mother and my father's name put together. So I was literally a product of them. And that was so limiting to me because my entire life, there was so much trauma attached to that identity. What I couldn't do, who I wasn't, how smart I wasn't, or what I was not able to accomplish. Like anytime I had an idea, I would tell my dad, like, oh my God, I have this idea, blah, blah, blah. Who told you that? Like, where'd you get that idea from? And it was like, myself, my brain. What do you mean? And it was just like, it was always the limitation of like, I couldn't have done that by myself. I couldn't have come up with that by myself. And it just wasn't true, but even after his death, I still carried that same identity with me of what I was unable to do, of who I could not become. I'm a woman. They're like the Simpson family. They have this like ideology that women are meant to be married and at home and taking care of the kids. And so me being the ingenuitive or, you know, um, intuitive person and full of ideas and wonderment and type A personality, I was judged my entire life. Like, you're not like a woman doing what? Like owning a business? Like they always looked down on me because they didn't think that I was capable. And that became my identity. And so here I am, New Year's Eve or New Year's night or whatever it is of 2021. And I'm just sitting there like, man, I'm out here coaching people about etymology. I'm out here telling people about like how their words have power and how to use their words, and words are spells and this and that. And here I am calling myself tiny. Am I playing small? And I had to breathe into that and sit with that for a minute. And I was like, okay, well, I know that identity does not resonate with me anymore, but I don't know what does. And so it's okay if you're in a space where you're realizing that you're experiencing a lot of resistance, whether it be financially or whether it be with your body or whether it be with your love of your life, what have you, your business, right? Your spirituality. If you're experiencing resistance right now, take a minute and assess your identity. Where are you? What do you associate yourself as? What do you tell yourself you're capable of or not capable of? Oh, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough for that. I don't do technology, right? What are your excuses? Jose Bennett, black guy with a Spanish name, shout out him. Um, he says this often, like, excuse is only a sophisticated lie. So who are you lying to, yourself or me? There are only excuses or results. And if you're not getting the results that you want in life, the truth is your identity is probably out of alignment. There is something deeply rooted in your unconscious mind, and it takes time, it takes energy to undo and unlearn all of these things that you've programmed into your mind for years and years and years. Okay. So I had to sit there with myself like, okay, well, what is my new identity? And so I didn't name myself. It actually came to me in a dream. Ra. I saw it spelled out Raella, Ra, like the sun god. Ella means she or her in Spanish. And so like immediately it was just like a download, like sun goddess, like bearer of light, right? And so I was just like, wow, I love that, right? And Ray for short, like ray of light. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. I love that. I love that. But coming up with the identity is the easy part. My computer just went black for whatever reason. Coming up with the identity is the easy part. The more challenging part is to reprogram your identity and associate yourself with your new identity. I know that a lot of spiritual people will take on their spiritual name because who they were before does not align with who they're aiming to become. And so let me ask you, who are you aiming to become? Are you in a space? Oh, we got some comments in the chat. Listening and driving. Safe travels, beloved. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, who are you going to become? Who do you aim to become? And if your life isn't aligned, if the results of your life isn't aligned with who you're looking to become, first you got to change who you are mentally, who you are in your mind, what your limitations are, what you're capable of. And that's what I had to do. Who is Ràella? I had to write it all out. I had to tell myself that I have no limitations. I lack nothing. I am fully abundant. Everything I put my mind to succeeds. And these are affirmations, incantations, if you will, that I say every single day. Everything I put my mind to succeeds. Because there was a blockage in my old identity. And Tiny, she would do something and she would be really amazing at it. And she would always be one of the best, but never the best. Because there was a conflict. She didn't think that she deserved that number one spot. She would settle for number 2 or number 3, and no matter what it was, whether if it was in class, I was a salutatorian, but I couldn't be the valedictorian because Amber Cotton had to be the valedictorian. You know what I mean? Or even in high school, or even in my job, I worked this marketing job. It was super competitive, and I was always like number 2, never number 1. Why is that? It's the same way, like if you played sports and you came second in the race because you felt that, oh, this person always wins, this person is the star, this person is. But run your own race. Take that out of it. Stop self-sabotaging yourself. And that's what I had to learn. I was self-sabotaging myself and keeping myself in check at a certain place on a certain level. Unfortunately, that is what held me back. Oftentimes, we are the ones that are holding ourselves back. So when I created this new identity, I created an identity with no limitations. I had no limitations, and I was like, I am stepping into this fully. And in a year's time, I have literally blossomed, completely blossomed. I have the honor to say that I've been on 6 different podcasts at this point. We put together multiple spiritual events since then. We put together our first online summit. I established my business officially. I have so many wins from releasing the limitation of who I was. I forgave those people who I felt oppressed me, and I forgave myself for carrying it on for so many years. So you don't have to necessarily change your name or anything crazy like that. But the truth is this: assess what your current identity is. And how is it holding you back? What are those limiting patterns, those thought patterns that you have that might even be a little subconscious or unconscious? You might not even be aware that you're having these thought patterns, but you can always tell based on the results that you get. You can always tell based on the results that you get. So if you're experiencing resistance or tension in your physical life right now, that is your energetic signal that, hey, something is out of alignment right here, right? And do the work. So here's a quick 3-step process to really embrace a new identity. First, you have to realize where your current identity is limiting. So number 1, where is your current identity limiting? And then number 2, replace it. What would you like your identity to possess? What would you like to become? And then number 3, condition it. Tell yourself over and over that this is your new identity. This is who I am. This is where I succeed. It's my time. I had to tell myself that so many times. It's my time. It's my time. It's my time. Because how long are you going to continue to push things off until a future date? Oh, well, one day I'll be, or I just want to become. Wanting is a word of lack, meaning you don't have, right? So if you want to become, you don't have it now. But everything that you are seeking outside of you already exists within you. And when you find that, when you figure that out, that is where you really begin to blossom and grow and boom and explode into who you are truly. You are not your limiting thoughts. You are not your limiting behaviors. Okay? Step into a space of appreciation. Step into a space of gratitude and condition that thing every single day. You got to keep telling yourself, because that will reprogram your unconscious mind. Okay, this was a little longer than I expected it to be, but it was on my heart and I just really wanted to share that with you because it's so important. Remember the formula, be, do, have. First, you must become in order to inspire the doing. The action first comes from a place of identity. If you associate yourself with someone who's like, oh, I work out, right? When someone who's like, who works out, like, no, I work out, right? Someone who works out and is like a huge health nut, right? When they don't work out, it is operating outside of their identity. So when you become first, that will inspire the doing. That will inspire the action because it is already within your identity. You associate with somebody as somebody who exercises their mind, body, and spirit every single day. I do that every single day. So if that is your identity, the action becomes easy because that's who you are, right? You don't have to do a little extra or work or nothing like that to become somebody new because it's part of you. So that's why the conditioning is so important. The repetition is so important. You must condition those actions into your physiology. Let it become you. Okay. So that's all I got for y'all today. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tapping in. I truly and graciously appreciate it. And I just want you to win. I want you to win. That's exactly why Sahat and myself created an ebook specifically for you, because we noticed that there are 7 things that people are doing after their awakening, and they're like huge mistakes. And you don't even know you're doing them 9 times out of 10. These are unconscious mistakes because you just awakened. You don't know. So we created this ebook to give you what the mistakes are and hacks to overcome them. And we always love to over deliver. So we gave you a few bonuses as well. So you can get your free ebook at 7spiritualmistakes.com. That's the number 7 spiritualmistakes.com. right now. Go get it. And I'll be back tomorrow for some more Rising Rituals with Ray. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, magical, and manifesting day, and we'll see you tomorrow.